Hey guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, with a look at the Galaxy S5 Active. This is an AT&T exclusive version of the GS5 we're all familiar with that has been ruggedized with a custom exterior design while retaining the same internal specifications, the same display, camera, and software features. Now I've already done a complete feature walkthrough and review of the Galaxy S5, and in this video I'll explain what's different about this phone and compare it to the standard GS5, which does have some unique features that are not available on the standard GS5. Now in terms of specs, we have a Snapdragon 801 processor clocked at 2.5 GHz with 2 gigs of RAM. It comes standard with 16 gigs of storage with expandable memory. The Active is available in 3 colors, camel green, titanium gray, and ruby red, and I think we all know what version I have here. Now, like the GS5, this is IP67 certified for dust and water resistance, meaning that this can be submerged into 1 meter of water for up to 30 minutes. But the Active goes a step farther by meeting the US military's MIL STD 810G testing standard, which means it's also resistant to salt, dust, humidity, rain, vibration, solar radiation transport, and thermal shock. In the packaging, we'll also find a pair of Samsung in-ear headphones with a remote control and microphone, as well as replacement ear tips. We also have a micro USB 2.0 charging cable and transfer cable. We have a standard Samsung travel charger, which is 2 amps. We also have the 2800 mAh battery, which is identical to the one found in the standard GS5, which, like the standard GS5, also integrates the NFC antenna. Now, to remove the back panel on the Active, you'll find a thumbnail port at the top just above the camera. Now, as you can see, the back panel does not surround the edge of the phone like the standard GS5, which means it's less likely to pop off and become dislodged when dropped. Now, inside the casing, you'll find a rubber gasket surrounding the back cover, which seals out water and dust, which means it's very important to seal this up securely when replacing the back panel. Now, next to the camera module, you'll also find the combination micro SIM and SD card slot. The SD card slot does support 128 gig SD cards. Now, down below, you'll find the waterproof loudspeaker, which is noticeably larger and consequently louder than the standard GS5 speaker, which I complained about in my review. So this is an improved speaker, thankfully. Now, the back panel is hinged toward the bottom on the Active, so you'll have to line those up first before snapping it back into place. Now, we do have the same 5.1-inch Full HD Super AMOLED display with a pixel density of 432, which looks just as stunning on the Active as it does on the standard GS5, with excellent outdoor visibility thanks to the less reflective characteristics of Super AMOLED. We also have the same 16 megapixel camera that can record in 4K resolution with an LED flash and the heart rate sensor just below that. On the right side, you'll find the power button, which is a little lower on the Active, and the buttons are also a little larger and more responsive and tactile, which makes them easier to operate through gloves, but they're also a little easier to trigger accidentally. Now, on the bottom, we'll find a microphone and the covered USB ports. Now, unfortunately, the Active does trade USB 3.0 for USB 2.0. At the top, we'll find a waterproof headphone jack, another microphone, and a very small IR LED window for controlling your AV equipment. Now on the front, we'll find our waterproof earpiece along with a front-facing 2.2 megapixel camera along with our light and proximity sensor. Now to the far edge is the much more visible notification LED light. At the bottom, we'll find our Android keys, which are physical buttons on the Active. Now, unfortunately, they are not backlit, but are certainly far more tactile. And the Active also gives up the fingerprint sensor in the home button of the standard GS5. On the left side, we have something new to look at, including a lower-mounted volume rocker, which is again bigger and more tactile than before. But we also have this blue button, which is called the Active Key. Now, this is pre-programmed to launch either the camera app or activity zone, but can be customized under settings. So with a long press by default, you can open up the camera app, and a quick press will open up the Activity Zone. Now, the Activity Zone is an app designed specifically for the Galaxy S5 Active. Now, again, this can all be adjusted under settings, including the fact that you can actually toggle on a switch that allows you to use this key as the camera release shutter. But you can freely customize which app you want this key to launch, either the long press or the short press. Now, the Activity Center main screen displays a barometer complete with the elevation, compass, and quick access to the flashlight and stopwatch. Now, the flashlight feature is full of options, including a brightness slider and blinking speed slider for flashing the LED. Now, the LED torch is a feature I use a lot on the GS5 and the iPhone 5S, but the active LED light is much brighter than any phone I've used previously. The hardware appears to be the same as the standard GS5, so the brightness is likely being enhanced by software. Now, when the flashlight is active, you can also quickly control it from the drop-down notification panel. Alternatively, you can also use the screen as a flashlight by changing the color, brightness, and blinking speed. You can also output text into Morse code using this app, which is kind of neat, especially if you're stranded and need to communicate with somebody. We can also quickly swipe between different functions in the activity zone, such as the barometer, compass, and stopwatch. We also can swipe in from the left edge to select one of the activities. Now, the barometer includes the barometric pressure and altitude, which does require internet connectivity to update. We also have a fully featured compass app, which even indicates magnetic field strength and accuracy at the center. Under options, we have several view modes, which includes a camera mode and map mode for additional navigation options while on the trail. We also have a night mode, which takes advantage of the low light capabilities of the AMOLED display. We also have additional options under azimuth mode for changing the values displayed on the compass. Activity Zone also allows you to add app shortcuts. So S-Health is there by default, but you can add any app you prefer by going to the Manage App shortcut and selecting the apps you want. Now, my only real disappointment with the active key is the fact that it can't be used to activate the features when the display is locked, even if you have no security measures in place. So for example, it would be nice if you could long press that key to activate the camera like you can on the Sony Xperia Z2 or one of the Nokia phones. The only other software tweak from the standard GS5 is the relocation of the S-Finder and Quick Connect settings, which are no longer dedicated buttons in the drop-down shade, but have been integrated into the quick settings toggles. Now, the active is noticeably bulkier than the standard GS5. It's slightly taller, slightly thicker, and heavier, but the build quality and materials feel far more premium. The phone is extremely rigid and feels nice in the hand to hold, with the matte textured materials and the squarer edges to give you a more reassuring grip. The buttons are larger and more tactile, the speakers are louder, and the LED lights are brighter. The overall design is much more functional, all while giving it a unique, robust look. The corners are chamfered to create a larger impact zone to absorb shock. The bezels around the display are more raised to give the phone a natural lay-on-table design with far more impact protection around the edges of the glass, and the materials are more impact or scratch resistant, so you no longer need to bulk up the phone further by adding the case. Essentially, the GS5 Active is a GS5 with the casing built in without adding the bulk created by most cases. My only disappointment with the Active is the lack of a larger battery. The battery life is still excellent, and I'm able to get a full 24 hours out of this phone or better, but a ruggedized phone could benefit from a larger battery, especially if you're outdoors or on a job site. But of course, the GS5 Active still incorporates ultra power saving mode when you're in a pinch, and you can easily swap out the battery, so go ahead and bring some spares. So that's going to do for me in this video. If you want to see my full review of the Galaxy S5 and all of its features, please check out a link in the description below. It's a really long video. So that's going to do for me in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.